yeah, I had a first slide, just a few words about myself, but most of it has already been said. So I had a starting grant in 2009, actually had to resubmit. So the first time I got in the second round, but didn't get it. The second time I was more successful. I applied for a consolidator grant in 2014, but made it to the second round, but unsuccessful. And that was the last year as a consolidator. I could apply as a consolidator grant. So I made that same mistake that was mentioned already earlier. Waiting until the last year you are in a certain category is not always the best strategy. I then didn't dare to apply for the advanced grant immediately, did it only a few years later, and then got an advanced grant. And so most importantly for this talk, I've been panel member for PE6, which is the Computer Science and Informatics panel, 2018 and 2020. And the last 2 years, I've been chairing that same panel. So I just wrote down a few notes of things that I think would be worth sharing and try to incorporate some of the questions I got. Now, again, this is not the general ERC point of view. It's more my personal experience with this. My view on things. So first, there have already been a few questions, and it's really important to know about what panel to apply to and panel composition. So this is really important. So you really have to select the right panel for your proposal. And what is the right panel really depends on the science. Where do you see the biggest contribution of the work that you want to do? For instance, if you submit a proposal to our panel, we look for innovation on the computer science side of things, like the algorithms, the models, whatever that you propose. There should be genuine contributions on that side. If, on the other hand, you use algorithms, whatever, as a tool for a given application, then our panel will not judge that as very innovative or groundbreaking and so on, because you just apply the tools and there's no real contribution on the computer science side of things. But it might be that your project is innovative in the application or the domain where you use these tools and you apply them to. And so in that sense, being in the right panel is really important. Now, as was also mentioned earlier, there's no guarantee that your project will actually be processed by the panel that you select. Normally it is, but the very first step when we start, when all the proposals are in, is for the panel chairs to check whether there's projects that need to be transferred to another panel, or whether there's like cross-panel proposals that need to be looked at by multiple panels. And so there it could be that we say, well, actually, looking at this proposal, it doesn't fit the expertise we have. And then there's a discussion between the panel chairs to reassign it if we feel it fits better in a different panel. Now, at this stage, like as a panel chair, you get maybe 100 proposals. You cannot read all these proposals in detail. So these decisions are mostly made based on the abstract. Sometimes we quickly look at what are the key objectives. But so from the abstract, the key objectives, it should be really clear what the panel is that your project fits in. If your project is more in between two different panels or has like aspects from different panels and you would like it to be evaluated by different panels, then make that clear and motivate that. So make it clear like why you think this should be the primary panel and why you also want to have input from this secondary panel. And what is the specific expertise you want from this secondary panel? And so this will make it clear for the panel chair that, yes, this is interdisciplinary and we need to also get reviews from the other panel. This being said, The primary panel is the one that ultimately takes the decision. And so they get input, they get reviews from panel members or then possibly external experts from the other field. But the project is discussed and the decision is taken within the primary panel. So it's not that the two panels get together or anything like that. Panels are quite broad. There's, like, for instance, computer science can be computer vision, computer graphics, formal proof theories, cryptography, human-computer interaction. So it can be a lot of different things. And so not everyone is really an expert in your field. There might be one or two people who are really in your domain and see the more technical details, but most of them are more generalists, and they know about computer science in general or whatever the topic of the panel is, but without being really the experts there. And so there's roughly 20 panel members. And so I guess 4 of them will typically read your proposal in the first round. 4 will read it in the second round and providing reviews. The others are suggested to have a look at it and will be involved in the discussions, but will not read it in as much details as like these 4 panels that get the proposal assigned to them. Okay, so in the first round, the only thing that we look at is the B1. So the B2 is not considered at all. And the B1 is not sent out to external reviewers. Everything is decided purely based on the panel members. Again, this shows why it's important that you're in the right panel, that you have people with the right general background to judge the contributions and innovation of your project. And so 4 people will be assigned to provide a review for the proposal. They first read the proposal and provide a written review individually, so independently, where they have 1 part on the proposal, 1 part on the PI. For the proposal, they also provide a score. For the PI, they just have something like good, very good, excellent, outstanding, or something like that, but there's no explicit score. So the proposal actually is more important than the PI in this overall first evaluation. Based on these 4 reviews, then the panel comes together. So there's like 4 days that the whole panel comes together in Brussels, discusses all of the proposals that have been submitted to a certain panel, and decides which make it to the second round, which get a B score, which get a C score, or this A non-invited. And so their time is really taken to compare the different proposals, rank them, see, is this really valid? What are the different comments? Where the 4 reviewers who read the proposal take the lead. Obviously, they know best what the project is about, but other people could also join the discussion. And so aspects that we are looking at this stage as a panel is this, whether the idea is original and groundbreaking. So that always comes back, and people sometimes struggle with it, but it's really, we want to have something that stands out as refreshing, original, different from what everyone else is doing. We don't want to have projects where it's just more of the same, like where you have to get the impression like, yeah, this is going to happen anyway. If this PI doesn't do it, someone else will do it. You want to have something where reading the proposal, you say, oh, this is actually refreshing. People look at the thing from a different angle, proposal, or a different way of tackling it, or just tackling a completely different topic. And this should be written like without making it too technical, such that indeed, like this panel where only few are really experts can appreciate and become enthusiastic, like, yeah, this really seems like something that would be worth funding. Next to the groundbreaking and original idea, there's also the impact that is typically looked at. We want something that makes a difference. That and so you have to show in this B1 very clearly, okay, suppose we can have this project, what would be the impact in terms of new research lines that might open up, or societal benefits, or whatever, like, does it really make a difference if we fund this project or not? So that's a second important aspect we look at. And so this is basically mostly the what and the why, but also important already in B1 is that you also have the how. It's not enough in the B1 to just say, okay, this is an important problem, this is new and groundbreaking, no one has dealt with this before. You should already in the B1 give some hints and some ideas of how you want to solve this problem. So what is the scientific approach that you will follow to address these open challenges? If you only say what and why, but you don't say how you will do it, then there might be too many doubts about whether this is feasible, whether this is a good direction to go or not. B1 is scientific approach. B2 is more like the methodology. So B2 is much more detailed and rigorous, but already in the B1, you don't have to have the methodology, but you do have to have this description of the approach that you will take. Next to the proposal, we also look at the PI. And for the PI, obviously, we want to have a strong track record of the PI, but also we want to have a good match between the project and the PI. It's not enough that you have proven to be a good researcher and capable of doing innovative stuff, but also there should be a good match between your previous expertise and what you want to do in this proposal, where we see, okay, this is the right person for executing this project. And so that's also something important. So just a few more notes on these two things. So first on the project side. So really important, if you then want to translate this in a text, is make clear what are the objectives of the project. Make these objectives not too technical, so that indeed it's not only the experts in your field who can appreciate them, but also the other panel members. Make it clear what is the scope of your project. Don't make it too broad that you try to solve everything, but also don't make it too narrow, and make sure that it's a coherent set of contributions. That it doesn't fall apart in 3 or 4 different sub-projects where you have one PhD doing this, one PhD doing that, one PhD doing that, but it kind of fits together into a nice overall project that indeed is a significant step forward towards like what you want to achieve. Sometimes we see that, and maybe that's specific to our panel, that there's a theory part, and then there's more like a use case or a more applied part. And sometimes this is really good because it makes it more concrete, and it helps to define the scope, like at what scale does the PI really think that this could be applied or used. But sometimes these two are also kind of a bit disconnected, and it seems like people add a use case just because they also want to have some societal impact claims or something like that. And then you wonder, well, if that's what you want to do, do you really need that theory to do that application? So make sure that they fit nicely together. And finally, I have here figures. Like, please don't have just like pages of text and text and text. Reviewers have to read, especially the panel members, have to read like 20 or 30 of proposals, one after the other. And so make it pleasure for them to read, make sure that things are well structured, that what's important stands out. Try to add some figures that capture some of the core ideas of your project, an overview, like just a motivation, things that draw the attention and that help your project to stand out a bit from everything else. So that's also important. Now, when it comes to the PI, there's two things I want to mention there. So as already mentioned, the host institute is not considered. We do not evaluate the host institution. We don't evaluate how good the match is between the host institution and the project and so on. This being said, of course, there can be aspects where you say, okay, this particular environment is good because I lack a bit of expertise on this or this aspect, but I have colleagues that cover those aspects, or there is this research infrastructure, this lab equipment that I can use and things like that, which do help to convince us about the feasibility of the approach and things like that. So I wouldn't consider that pure host institution, but this kind of embedding can be worth mentioning because it's part of the project and execution of the project. We're also discouraged to explicitly reflect on international mobility, attracting funding, and PhD supervision. So because we realize that it depends a bit on the circumstances, one country versus the other, your personal situation, whatever, whether you're allowed to officially supervise PhDs as a postdoc or not, whether you're allowed to attract funding in your own name. And so we are encouraged not to focus on these aspects. Okay, and I guess I have to speed up a bit. So what do we look at in terms of the PI and track record? So publication track record is still an important one. It's not just the age index or the impact factor of journals. That's not important. But of course, with your publication track record, you can show that you have accomplished something as a researcher. You have to show that you have been able to do innovative research in the past, that you have the right prior expertise to execute this project. For a starting grant, it's important that you can show independence from your PhD supervisor. For a consolidator grant, it's nice if you can see that there's some indication that you're capable of leading a team, of managing projects and things like that. And also recognition by peers is important and something you should stress and highlight. So awards, invited talks, whatever comes to mind there. And so it has been, the format has been restructured a bit. And so there's more like freedom in how you provide the information of you as a PI, which allows you also to add more, make it more personal and add anything you think is relevant or could be helpful. But whatever you do, try to make it concrete and relevant also for people who are a bit further away from the research. So don't just give a list of publications because that doesn't tell something, but add some text where you link the publications to your project, or say why you're proud of this particular publication, what it really showed. If it's like a very selective venue, say that explicitly. If there's other things you want to mention, you can do so. For instance, if you say, okay, COVID really slowed my research down, you can say so in the text you have. But if it's just a general statement, then people say, yeah, everyone was affected by COVID. You have to make it personal and say, okay, why in your case it actually had a bigger impact than for other people, for instance. Okay, then there's a second round. And so there if you make it to the second round, it's not only the panel members who review, but there's also the external experts. So the panel members, after they have selected who goes to the second round, come up with a list of potential reviewers. And then when all the reviews from external experts and the panel members are in, then they meet again in Brussels, where you have the online interview, but they're all in Brussels so that they can have the live discussions. So when it comes to B2 versus B1, I think it's important that both are independent of one another. The reviewers have access to both B1 and B2, but, and I like to first read B1 and then B2, but some people will only read B2, so make sure that they can be read as standalone, but also don't just copy-paste, because if there's too much overlap, that might also be annoying for people who do read both. In the B2, you really have to make sure that the state of the art is dealt with, like that in a B1 you can still be, you don't have a lot of space, so you can be a bit short. In B2, everything that is related should be covered. The methodologies should be explained in a concrete way, in a coherent way. It should be solid. So coherence, I already discussed. Projects should be ambitious, but at the same time, you should make sure that give the impression that you think it's feasible, and that if there's risks, that there's also contingency plans involved. Try to make this risk and contingency idea something, again, concrete and to the point, rather than just general statements. Make sure you focus on evaluation. If you have some preliminary results, it can be good to mention them, but it should really, in the ideal case, your preliminary results are really just a very small experiment that show there's potential in this direction, but shouldn't have solved the problem already. If you have preliminary results that actually are too convincing, then it might work against you, because then it's like, yeah, well, actually, the risk or the key innovation has already been done. There's that step, that groundbreaking idea has already been verified, and so now it's just working out the details, and that's not what you want. So the preliminary things should just hint about the feasibility of the work, rather than just having solved the issue already. And then on the interview, I guess it's important that you're enthusiastic, you're concise, you're honest, you're confident, and you don't make it too technical. Again, this is a very short presentation you can give. It's to all the panel members, some who have read the proposal and know it in detail, some who might also only have browsed through it. And so it's important that you can convey your key message to them clearly, so that they know what this project is about, why this is important, and so on. So the content of the interview is more like the B1 rather than the B2, I would say. You don't have time to go into the details of B2. And so then there's a Q&A, which are often questions that come from the external experts, and so via the panel members to you. Again, be honest. If things are not clear, you can mention. And the budget is not really considered a lot in the evaluation. So it's not something that by having a lower budget, you increase your chances of being accepted. That's not how it works. It's really about the science and the key ideas and contributions that the decisions are made. So don't postpone, don't oversell, and ask people for feedback. I guess that's all clear, and I won't spend time on that because I guess I'm already over time.
Okay, many thanks, Tinne, for your elaborate presentation. We have received several questions from the participants. One is actually on the budget. So how do panelists consider the budgets of proposals in B2? Specifically, is it considered a negative if the PI would be employed full-time on the project versus already having a permanent position in a host institution for consolidated grants?
I don't think, in terms of the budget, the budget is not looked at in that level of detail. And so I guess it would rather be like as part of your general CV, if you say, oh, he's applying for a consolidator, he doesn't have like a tenured position yet. Maybe that's something where someone might ask, well, why not? But that's more on the CV side. On the budget side, whether you put your own salary there or not, I would not think it has an impact.
Okay. And then on to the next question. In your experience in panel PE6, what is approximately the percentage of proposals that go to the interview phase? And are there many proposals that get A but don't go through the interviews because of a cap at 44?
I'd rather not answer that one because we just had a panel meeting and I don't want to give away any statistics or anything.
Okay, of course. And then a question, can being already an MSCA fellow applying to ERC be a positive element in the evaluation process, especially in the track record of the PI part?
Yeah, I think so. It shows like first, well, you have been capable of attracting funding. It shows that it's a kind of quality mark. So I think it reflects positively on the PI.